Hello and welcome to the Crafty Historian podcast, episode number 38. My name is Rachel and you can find me on Ravelry as RachelRavenclaw and Instagram as RavenclawRachel. This is where I sit and I talk about all the crafty things I have been up to. Today is the 17th of September, so it has been a small while since I last spoke to you. And that is because I have finished my masters. I won't know for a while how I've done, but I am really happy with my dissertation. And to all of you who follow me on Instagram, thank you so much for all your lovely comments when I put up my pictures celebrating finishing that off. So yes, I am not a student anymore. I don't really know what to do with myself at the moment. I am trying to find a job. We will see how that goes. But yes, I am still a historian. I am still into history. I'm just no longer studying it anymore, officially. Which is a bit weird, because I've been doing that for 5 years. So yes, because I've been away for so long, I won't have a history section again for you today, but that's because I have so many finished objects. So many. So yes, you've got that to look forward to instead, and I've got some casting on to look forward to, because I cast a lot of things off recently, and I only have to show you 3 works in progress at the moment, which isn't bad, I don't think. So those will be exciting. Saying that, I haven't worked on my Game of Thrones socks recently and I really need to finish those. So yes, 4 works in progress, and my blanket, so that's 5. I should probably pick that up again too. I've got so many minis. But that's a tangent before we even get started. So yes, if you are new here, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time on in my little corner of the crafty internet. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much, and thank you for waiting and sticking around. It means a lot to me that you are still here. I think technically that was a shoe that just fell over. I think technically I've been podcasting for about 3 years now, but I've never had a consistent schedule. Joys of student life. I think I've mentioned in my previous podcast that I was going to try a regular schedule, and then writing took over my life and that didn't happen. So yes, let's try again to make this a regular thing. I will make no promises though. Yes. So without a further ado, let's get into what I have finished recently. And you may have noticed that I've been on a bit of a sock kick. That didn't stop whilst I was absent from the podcast. It was in part aided and abetted by Nikki of Tea and Possibilities Summer of Socks Cal, which is now over. It was just a lovely knit along to knit a load of socks, which was great. And the Bakery Bears are having an Autumn Equisocks Cal. So that's another thing that is quite exciting that I might stave off casting on until that starts, so that I can submit more things there. So socks are a big part of my finished objects, but 2 of them are not for me. So we'll start off with the ones that you've seen already. I have a pair of vanilla socks. These ones were the ones I was knitting for my sister for Christmas. So the ends are all woven in and they look like this. So they have a wrap and turn heel and a 2x2 rib, and they're worked toe up, I believe. It's been a while since I cast these off. And this yarn is a Dragon Hoard Yarns colourway. I don't think she dyes it anymore, but this was the Molly Weasley colour, and it's this lovely autumnal speckle, which goes really well with the dark green for heels, cuffs and toes. I had a weaving in day yesterday. I'd stocked up loads of things, had lots of things to weave in, because I know some people don't like weaving in ends. I do find it a bit of a chore, but if I save it up and I've got a lot of it to do, I can get into a rhythm, and that rhythm will help me get through the weaving in ends. It can get quite methodical, quite meditative, but I have to have enough things, so that's why I had a stack. I think it was 5 pairs of socks, 2 hats and a shawl. Yeah, so one of the pairs of socks you had seen previously, they were my Felici socks, which I think I finished back in June. And the other hat was the Find Your Cable Adventure by Mina Phillip, which I really liked, so I've woven in the ends of that. So yeah, these have their ends woven in, and they will now go into a box and hopefully not get lost before Christmas or her birthday. Her birthday is in December, so I'm knitting her 2 pairs of socks, and I don't quite know yet which one is for which occasion. So there are those. The other pair of socks that you have seen before, and bear with me, I'm going to get my sock blocker. Right, we're back. So yes, the second pair of socks that I have, ones that you have seen before, are my Eiffel Tower socks. So just to prove there are 2 of them, and they look like this. So this is a stitch pattern that looks a little bit like Eiffel Towers all the way up there, and these are my sort of, I forgot what it's called, I want to say memento, souvenir, that's the word I'm looking for. These are my souvenir socks. I went to Paris in April with my mum and my sister, and we stopped into a yarn shop, or rather I dragged them to a yarn shop in Paris. It was called Lil Weasel, and this was the yarn I bought. It is a Villains chaussette in the colourway Affronté, Le Grand Lustre. Apologies for my French, but it's Confronting the Bogeyman, I believe. And I chose to knit up it into these little Eiffel Towers. The pattern I used is called the Springtime in Paris. I believe it is a free pattern on Ravelry by, I've got written down here, a lady called Rebecca A. And yes, they're very lovely. I altered it so that I could have a toe-up heel flap and gusset. There are plenty of tutorials for that. It's knit inside out when you're knitting the pattern, so you've got to purl this sort of stockinette side, because otherwise you'd have to purl all of this, and no one wants to do that. So yes, it's got a 1x1 rib at the top. They're very pretty, and I think these are my first lace socks, if this counts as lace. Just dropped one. Yeah, so I've had patterned socks before. I've had cables, and I've done a Hermione's Everyday sock, and they were quite addictive. I think I am reverting, if I'm not doing gift socks, I'm reverting back to doing cuff down construction, because I really like how heel flap and gusset fit my foot, but it takes a little bit more thought doing it toe up than it does cuff down. So I think I will be reverting back to cuff down, and maybe I'll try some more lacy patterns. I haven't worn these yet, so I don't know how I feel about them. Well, I know how I feel about them. I'm very happy with them, but I don't know how they will wear on my foot. But yes, that is pair number 2. Pair number 3 is, if you were in the Summer of Socks chat thread, you will have, I think you've seen these socks. Well, if you just knit socks, you will have seen this colourway everywhere, because it is the West Yorkshire Spinners Fairy Lights socks. And I've knit a pair for myself, and although you missed the process of this, you will be seeing them again, because both my mother and my sister want a pair too. So I had to buy another ball. So you'll get to see some more of these Fairy Light socks in the future. This was worked cuff down with a heel flap and gusset, like this. And it didn't really mess up the stripe sequence. The red stripe here is a little bit thinner, but not significantly so. It's pretty much back to normal by the blue stripe. Yeah, red cuffs, heels and toes. This is the thing. So we're all going to have matching socks, but we're going to have different cuffs and toes, so we can tell whose is whose. So mine will be red. I believe my sister is going to have this sort of whitey cream. My mum has agreed to have blue toes, because I don't have this green colour. I only have this green colour, which kind of clashes. So she's going to have blue. So we will have matchy socks. And let's see if I can get them done before this Christmas. It's less than 100 days till Christmas, which doesn't say much if you think about it, as there are only 365 days in a year. So that's, yeah, we're about the third of the way through the year, I think that's saying. But there's plenty of time to knock out some Christmas socks, because the world and her wife seem to be obsessed with knitting Christmas socks. Probably due to Amy Florence of Stranded Dye Works and her Christmas box of socks, which was incredible. Now the world wants to do it too, which I'm not against it. I don't know if I wear that many socks. My sock box is looking full and I've got 15, and I feel a bit guilty. So I've got 15 pairs of knitted socks. I feel a bit guilty for having so many, but I don't want to stop knitting socks. So I will end up with more socks and gifts. How many pairs of knitted socks do you guys have? Am I being weird that I've got 15? That's like one every 2 weeks. I don't know. It's not including my Christmas socks. I have 3 pairs of Christmas socks. I don't know if I'm being weird about this. Yeah. Socks are what I'm loving to knit at the moment. I'm struggling with storage. I don't know. Maybe should I keep some out and then rotate them? Oh, I don't know. So yes, socks. Which is why I'm knitting gift socks a lot. Which leads on to the 4th and final pair of finished socks, which are another gift, this time from my mother. And they look like this. This is an Opal yarn. She chose it herself. I say that, we walked into a lovely yarn shop. It was called the York Makery. It's no longer there, but we went in about February, March time, and I turned around and said, Mother, choose one. And she chose these. So we have grey socks this year. She's had pink and reds and blues. So we've gone for greys. And it's a really lovely effect on this. So yeah, this is another wrap and turn heel wedge toe and a cuff. These were done toe up. Yeah, I'm not sure what else to say. Obviously everybody's gauge is different on socks, so I'm not sure if me saying my needle sizes and stitch count help, but these were knit on 56 stitches on a 2.5mm needle, 9-inch circular needle. These were knit on 56 stitches on a 2.75mm needle. These were also 56 on a 2.5mm needle, and this was 54 on a 2.75mm needle. So I'm not sure if that helps. It was just, so this yarn is more of a sport weight, hence why it needed a slightly larger needle size. And I knit looser on my circulars. So these two were done on the 9-inch circulars. I knit a bit looser on those, so they required slightly more stitches. My gauge on there is slightly larger, so it's more equivalent to my 2.75mm needles than it is anything else. Hence the stitch count. They are pretty similar. So that's that. Yeah, not sure what else to say. Gift socks. I already have 2 Christmas gifts out of the way. Woo-hoo. I usually have so many more by now. I'm not panicking. Anyway, moving on to more finished objects. And I've finished another hat. And it is my favourite hat pattern. Shout out if you know what it is. It is, of course, Jason's cashmere hat, and I've put a furry pom-pom on the top this time. So this is one from, I believe, Cowling Country Craft. This is a free Aran cable hat pattern. If you've been watching for any time at all, you know I love this hat pattern. I've knit it so many times I've lost count. My first one I knit was a burgundy one, but it was made of an acrylic blend and it stretched out, so I decided to replace it, and it's beautiful. So here you go, you can see the cables. I made it out of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes Aran Tweed, I think. I believe it was Aran, it might have been a worsted, I'm not sure. It was definitely a tweed Knit Picks yarn in this sort of burgundy colour. And the little flecks is why I chose this particular tribble. Don't fur pom-poms, if you're a Star Trek fan. Fur pom-poms, if you just... So these are snappered, these faux fur pom-poms. They're just sat like that, and you're a Star Trek fan. Don't you think of tribbles? Always think of tribbles. So I've got a tribble on top of my hat. I had a couple of them sitting around at one point, and they did just look like tribbles. This was about 4 months ago when I knit my friend Liv's hat, which was also Jason's cashmere hat, but she had hers in red with a white pom-pom. I believe I showed that on a episode at some point. I can't remember which one. If I remember, I will put a little tag down the bottom saying which episode that was in. But yes, so it's a very simple hat with a simple cable. I modified it slightly in that I did, I believe it was 4.5 inches of rib, because I like a nice chunky fold up brim, and I did an extra cable repeat up here before I started decreasing. I did run out of yarn actually, so the decreases are much more rapid than they would normally be. I lost yarn chicken, so I had to tie off the remaining stitches. You can see my dirty secrets in this sort of navy blue, which that's my weaving in there. That was what I had fun doing yesterday. But yes, I did run out. This is 100 grams out of my stash. It's beautiful, and I will never not recommend this hat pattern. It's quite stretchy. It is only one size, but as I said, it stretches, it shrinks. It'll fit most things. I haven't tried it on a bloke's head. I don't know if they fit them. But it's very lovely. And it's got a tribble on top. So that is my hat. And the final finished object I have for you here today, I have another thing, but they are tucked away somewhere. Is my crack shawl. I believe it's pronounced crack. The AI sound, because I believe it's Celtic, that makes an ah sound, whereas phonetically in English it makes an a sound. So I would say crake. I don't know. But this is a pattern by Spirit Trail Fiberworks. I can't remember the names of the actual people, but it is done. It is a lovely crescent shawl. Ta-da! And I've knitted it out of 2 colours from York based dyers. So this is my York shawl. I have White Way of Delight by Beehive Yarns, and that's this lovely green speckle. And then this is Kerala by Philly's Yarn. And this has a beautiful stitch pattern. It's called Linen Stitch. And it's got some sections of that plus the eyelets and garter rows. And it is fabulous. I did my first I-cord edging. I wish I'd done it slightly looser. But yeah, it wasn't as scary as I thought it would be. That's an I-cord. The one thing that disappointed me, the brown did bleed a lot. So this was, well, you can see where it's slightly creamy taupey here. And that was more white, more undyed than it had been before I soaked and blocked it. But the Philly's yarn did bleed an awful lot. It looked, so when I emptied out the sink, or I took it out and I looked in the sink, it looked like, so I dye my hair usually with henna, and it looked like the water when I'd wash my henna hair out, which is quite dark, quite muddy, which is a little bit of a shame, but it's still beautiful. So yes, this is how I would probably wear it. I know some people don't like how ends on crescent shawls curl, but I really like them. So my Colour Affection shawl does that too, and they're really pretty. So this is just going to be nice to bundle up with. And I love this linen stitch. So yes, this has been on the needles for quite a while. I kept putting it off and putting it off because it required me to sit down and think for a little bit to do the linen stitch panels. But once I'd sat down and done those, it was incredibly simple. Everything else is pretty much just garter and eyelets. I think I was just scared about the tension on the linen stitch, but that's fine. If anything, that is just fine. The eye cord though is not. I did consider ripping it out, but then decided I didn't. I couldn't be bothered. So that's quite tight there. There's no give there, which is a bit of a shame, but it's fine. It's still really beautiful, and I'm very happy with it. So that is my Yorkshire, let's call it that, because I don't know how to pronounce the proper title. Yeah. So that's it for finished objects that I have for you today. I will also insert a picture here of the mittens that I made for my dissertation. This was part of a academic project, oh not a project, so it's part of my dissertation, there's an academic movement about, so it's the embodied turn, so it's looking at how making things can actually influence history and how we understand the past. So I created these two mittens. I spoke a little bit about it on the last episode as well. One was the original 1940s pattern, and one was the Susan Crawford reproduction pattern. And I spent a significant proportion of one of my chapters comparing how and why they are different and what we can learn from this, and why basically historians should take knitting and the reproduction of patterns and reproducing the knitwear into consideration when they're talking about the past. So yeah, those are my mittens, and with that we have finished. Well, that's all I've finished in the past 2 months. Let's actually move on to works in progress. So the first thing I have been working on is my Honey Bop cardie by Poison Girls. I had intended to knit this. She had a cowl going over summer, but that didn't work out. So I have only just joined after the armholes. Those are the words, Rachel's. But this is a really beautiful construction. It's a top-down set in sleeve design. So I'm about here. It's going to look fabulous with this once it's done. Look at those colours. They go so nicely. So yes, this is just a plain stockinette cardigan in this beautiful red colour. And this is my first 4-ply garment. So I really want to sit down and put some work into this, because if this goes really well, I will possibly have this cardigan in pretty much every colour under the sun. I know I definitely need a teal one, or a tealy green, because I live in cardigans, and I would like to replace all of my shop bought ones with Me Maids. So I started off with this red one because the yarn was on sale and it looked pretty. I couldn't quite find the right green, so my red cardigan is fine. I was wearing it earlier, but my green cardigan is starting to get holes, so maybe that will be a garment after this one. We'll see. But yes, this is the Honey Bop cardie, or the beginnings of one. It's kind of a waistcoat, not even a waistcoat. It's a bolero at the moment. And I am alternating skeins. I am using, so I've only wound up 2 balls, but I'm using Knit Picks Stroll Fingering in the Heartfelt Tonal colourway, which is a 75% superwash merino wool, 25% nylon. and it is this lovely bright lipstick red. I'm not wearing red lipstick well, I was wearing red lipstick earlier, but it has rubbed off. Yeah, I think it'll go really nicely into my wardrobe. These are the two cakes that are connected currently. Yeah, they are hand wound cakes because I don't have a ball winder, and yeah, I've got a little bit more to go before I start waist shaping. That I'm looking forward to that, and then I will be omitting the puff on the sleeves, but she's got instructions on how to avoid that. So yes, that is slowly making progress. I only picked it up again in the past couple of days. So yeah. The other two things that I have on the go are 2 more pairs of socks, but none of them are vanilla socks. So yes, I forgot to say, this is living in my Tatty Designs Winnie the Pooh bag, because how can I resist Winnie the Pooh? This one is living in a Primark makeup bag with little chibi Harry Potter characters, and this is actually intended to be a test knit, but the test knit is done and the pattern is out, so I am a bad test knitter because I've only done one sock. Hang on, I'll get a sock blocker and ends tucked in. This is the test knit that I was working on, and this is Kirsty of Grenade Creations undercurrent socks. So you can see there's this lovely lacy pattern here. Kind of reminds me of a mermaid's tail fin. It goes all the way up both sides of the sock, and I am using contrast toes, heels and cuffs. And yes, so these are currently on Ravelry, and I will put the link down below. I believe she's having a knit along for them. I'm so bad I can't even remember what her knit along was for, but it's a lovely pattern. The lace is very intuitive. I really enjoyed working on it. I have been working out of stash for this. I don't think I have enough left to do toes and heels and cuffs on the other sock, so they've discontinued my Sheepies Invicta Extra, so I had to try and guess on the website what colour was closest. So this is the closest I've got, which isn't quite right, but I'm not sure you would tell if they're on 2 different feet. And this is a regular in the colourway 01078, which I believe was burgundy. And then this is what I'm knitting the actual pattern out of. And do I have the label? I do not, but I got this from a bargain bin somewhere. But it was a 75/25 wool nylon, and it's a nice sort of tweedy speckly burgundy, which I think has worked up really nicely here. These aren't showing particularly well, perhaps because my sock blockers are slightly holy. I'm going to turn it around the other way, see if that shows the lace up a little better. So yeah, that's the lace as it would sit on the foot. They do look like mermaid's fins. The pattern does include instructions for a German short row heel. This is the first time I've done a German short row heel. It reminds me a lot of the Fish Lips Kiss heel. I'm not sure I would say I was a fan of it, but yeah, for a wrap and turn heel, well, for a short row heel, yeah, it works. But yeah, it's a lovely pattern and you should all go try it. Ta-da! That's that. I should probably cast on for the second one in the next couple of days. I have another cake living in here, another hand wound beauty, and this is a Game of Crafting cake. Game of Crafting in the colourway, and there's coffee in that nebula. 75% merino, 20% nylon, 5% sparkle, sparkle. Because I want to knit a pair of Mercury socks out of this. Because Nebula, Mercury. Also, if you don't get the quote, that's another Star Trek reference. So we are on a Star Trek roll at the moment. Here is my lovely captain, Captain Catherine Janeway, and First Officer Chakotay, next to my Star Trek book. So yeah, I want to knit a pair of Star Trek spacey socks, and that's what that's going to be. But I've told myself I can't cast that on until I finish my test knit. So I should, even though it's no longer a test knit, I should finish that pair of socks off. See? They're all snug in there. The final work in progress I have to share with you today is in fact an upcoming design. I just have to finish the toe on this sock and finish writing it up, and then I will knit my second sock based on what I've written in the pattern, and then I should send them out to test knitters. So yeah, this is it. So yeah, I just have to do the toe, and I've got awfully tangled. Whoop, whoop. Da, 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 da. So here we go. These are my socks inspired by Anne of Green Gables. More specifically, the Anne with an E television series. So here it is. It has a braided cable down the front, reminiscent of Anne's braids. So when the 2 feet are together, you've got 2 braids like hers. And then there are these garter ridges, because the costume that she wears has a garter scarf. So that's where that came from. I'm also using contrast heels, cuffs and toes, because the whole sort of ethos of that series is they were saving, it was quite a poor time in history, so using leftover yarn. This is the same yarn that I used for my Eiffel Tower socks, would have been in keeping with the time period. So yes, if you would like to test knit this pair of socks when I've finished writing up, could you drop me an email to thecraftyhistorian@gmail.com. I will write it on the screen if it's different, or I will just write it on the screen. So if you can send me an email to that address saying that you would like to test knit, that would be great. So yeah, it's a simple cable. It's a heel flap and gusset, although I am not precious about heels. If you want to test knit with not a heel flap and gusset, fill your boots. I've got my little progress sheep, a beaded sheep from Hannah of the Corner of Craft, keeping me company. And this beautiful yarn, here it is in the stockinette, is Pixel Atlantis Red Hair and Freckles, I think, or it's Ginger Hair and Freckles. So it is a Weasley, it's a Harry Potter inspired yarn with about the Weasley family, but Red Hair and Freckles also goes with Anne Shirley. She also has red hair and freckles, so it went really nicely. And I believe Rosie has this colourway in her Etsy shop at the moment. So if you want to get some, pop along there. I will link her down below as well. So yeah, that's that. Yeah, I've just got the toe to knit and right up, and then it should be golden. And those are all of my works in progress for today. This is living in my handmade Cath Kidston Winnie the Pooh bag. Yeah, which I made out of some canvas Cath Kidston fabric. Apart from that, I haven't been doing much, apart from I did a dissertation. 20,000 words. Mine was 19,900, but then that doesn't include bibliography and my appendix. But yes, 19,000, 20,000 words. It was long, and I did do some sewing. I will insert a picture here. I made a tote bag for my friend Kat's birthday. Her birthday was in the beginning of July, but it took until the end of August for me to do it. But I really liked how it turned out. It was really neat. So I zigzagged all of the edges on the inside and turned double turned everything. It was beautiful, and I really liked using, so I used a herringbone tape for the straps, which really made it look so much more professional. So I might be investing in a little more of that herringbone tape. So yeah, I think that's all I have for today, as I have been babbling on for a while now. Hopefully there won't be as much to get through next time, and we can actually sit and we can talk about some history and have a proper chat. But thank you so much for spending your time with me. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you would like to like or subscribe or comment, those are great. It helps other people find the channel. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you again soon. Bye.